G'day everyone, today we're here to talk to John about his LX Hatchback Torana.
Let's check out this vehicle because I think it's awesome. Alright, we're here with John today. Now we're going to have a look at this beautiful Torana. So, John, tell us about your ride, mate. What is it? How long you've had it for?
It's a September 76 hatchback, obviously built in Melbourne.
Yep.
So when it came out, it was an SL, and it had a 202 with a Trimatic and a Bango diff.
Okay, cool.
So I bought the car in about 92 or 93.
Yep.
And the plan was always to rebuild it at one stage.
Yeah, to give it that SS look.
Yeah. So it came off the road in November 2015.
Yep.
And it was stripped to just the shell, and it went to Naval Base to be bead blasted. Then it went to Northern to get its panel and paint. And the reason it went to Northern is he's the painter that I wanted. Yep. So Avon Valley Spray Painting was the painter.
Nice.
It came back to Perth. And Thornley Automotives really are the ones that did most of the work on it.
Yep.
So he was the one that built the engine and got it running. And then Southeastern Motor Trimmers did the trim, and then it went back together.
Yeah.
So it was about a 5 year, just over a 5 year rebuild.
So and before you started to do that rebuild, so you obviously owned it for a long time before that.
Yeah.
So what actually got you into that passion of these Toranas?
I suppose it was watching Bathurst with Peter Brock. So I was probably about 14, and I'd always switch the TV on at the beginning of Bathurst and watch it the whole day, because I'd got to the stage where I'd love watching cars. And then my first Torana was a green G-Pack, and the reason I went for a G-Pack is I didn't want to be buying an SLR.
Yeah.
And the G-Pack had pretty well similar features. And then I bought an LJ Torana, just as a work car. And then it was time to start the restoration on this. And a guy in the Torana Club said, oh, there's an SLR around the corner, go and see if he wants to sell that. So I bought a donor car.
Yeah.
And took the 253 out of the donor car and put it into this. And then I got the stage where it wasn't an everyday car. So I thought, well, I like changing gears, I want to put a gearbox in it. But to me, I didn't want to put an Aussie 4-speed, I wanted a 5-speed in it. And I thought, well, because it's not an everyday car, it's not such a drama about changing gears. So then I bought a kit from Melwood and put the Super 5-speed in it. And then it got a Borg-Warner diff in it to get rid of the banjo. Always with keeping it off the road as little as time as possible, just little steps, with knowing that eventually you'll do the big step.
What made you choose the colour combination of this?
Well, originally, Phil, it was cotillion white, and I had thoughts about changing it to other colours, and then I thought to myself, well, a white car never ages. You can have a car that's 1940s that's white, or 2020 that's white. And I'd always wanted it to look similar to an A9X, but with my little flair on it.
What is the subtle differences in paint combo from an SS to what you've got now?
what I wanted to do is I didn't want to have another A9X tribute.
Yep.
So that's why I went away. So the black on this is gloss. The black here is a 4-door.
Okay.
The black in between the tail lights is probably SS, and the black along under the sill is probably more SS than A9X.
Yeah.
I just wanted something that was a little bit similar to, but a little bit outside of school, that people could say, oh, that's such and such's car. Well, like chrome bumpers. If it was an SS, it should have painted bumpers, but I like chrome bumpers, and that's what I like to do.
And at the end of the day, your car, your ride,
Yes.
you do it the way you want it to do and design it how you want
Yeah.
it to do it. And that's perfect.
It's really nice that it's not an everyday car. That's part of its attraction. You take it out for a run, get your adrenaline, then take it back home, put it back home.
Yeah, perfect. So the flare kit, where did you end up sourcing that from?
I went to the spoiler shop when he was around. The first flare kit that I get, the panel beater wasn't happy with the fit. So we sourced around and he found another set from over east somewhere. I don't know where he got it from. But I'd always wanted a Torana with flares, because I'm a flares sort of person. I like flares. So then you've got to get a wheel that fills the flare. So it took a lot of sourcing to find the hot wires, but I'd always wanted hot wires for it. A lot of people like go for 17s, but I wanted 14s.
Yep.
And I didn't want 13s. It's hard enough to find tyres for 14s, let alone 13s. 13s don't have that look, whereas a 14-inch does have that look.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I wanted it with a full body kit. I didn't want it to blend in with the car because it needs to look like it's added on. I mean, even like its bonnet scoop, sort of they were set up so that there was a low pressure area. And that's sometimes I look at a Chev Vega. So you can see where these got their DNA from was a Chev Vega. These Toranas are one of the unique cars in the world.
Yeah,
and they
definitely.
have 4, 6 and 8 cylinders in the same body.
All right, well, let's move on to the engine.
Yep.
We've got a brand new website. Go check it out. We've got heaps of articles. We've got all the latest events that are happening in Perth right now. And also we've got loads and loads of merch. From surfboards to t-shirts to bucket hats, anything you want is on there. So go check it out now. Okay, cool. This is like super clean underneath here. Tell me exactly what you've got as far as the engine, what the components are and everything in here.
Originally, well, when the first rebuild, it had a 253 and I wanted a 308.
Yep.
So I went to the engine builder and I said, I want to put a 308 in it, but I want to run VN heads.
Yep.
He came back to me and he said, the problem with the 308 is they're too long in the tooth. We can't find one that's on standard bore. Why don't we buy a VN? You'll get your VN heads and you'll get a standard bore. So that's what we've done. So we've gone to a VN headed 304. And the reason you look at it and it looks like a proper Holden V8,
Yep.
which it is a Holden V8. It's had a full rebuild with just being a cruiser. That's
Yeah.
all it is. Just a nice car to drive on the road.
So did you end up putting like a standard cam back in this, or did you put a lumpy cam in
No,
this?
it's got a H286, I think,
Okay.
is the cam in it. I just left everything to the engine builder.
Okay.
I said, this is what I want, and he built it.
You got the air gap manifold. So as far as carby underneath there, what are you running?
It's running a 650 Holly
Nice.
with vacuum secondaries. When I put the engine into the car, it had the old brake pipes. So I said, oh, you've gone to all this expense with a paint job, you need to go and get new brake pipes. So I sourced a bloke in Melbourne and he said to me, send me a picture so I know what it is. So I sent him a picture and he said to me, that's LH. I said, well, it's LX on the build plate. And bearing in mind, Holden would use up their old parts before
Yep.
they use the new parts.
Heard that a heap of
And
times.
Holden would change from August to September. So a car built in August would be that year. A car built in September would be the next year. So when you look at this, you think, oh, that's got LH brake pipes. But it's Holden using all its old parts up.
Been
When you
known for
get
that.
an LH and an LX together, you can see where Holden is cutting back on metal in the fact that an LX has a single skin bonnet, and that's obviously for weight reduction, but it's more for cost. Radiator support panels, all sorts of things that Holden were doing to cut their costs. The reason why Holden went for the hatchback is Harry Firth said to them, you need something to beat the Fords, which were XCs, I think, 1.2s. So he said, you need to go and get something that's a two-door.
Yep.
And that's where the Chev Vega came in. So it's a Chev Vega from virtually the windscreen back with a Holden front on it. And that's because the two-door body is more rigid than a four-door body. But even like the aluminium radiator,
Yep.
I wanted an aluminium radiator for the bling factor, and also because I didn't want it overheating when we're in traffic. So it has a bypass switch where I can flick the fans on if I'm into traffic.
Now, behind this engine, you've got a 5-speed gearbox.
Yep.
Okay, and diff. So run that through again, what you've actually got in there.
When it was time to rebuild it, I didn't want to go for an Aussie 4-speed, I wanted a 5-speed.
Yep.
So I sort of did a bit of research on a Supra, got in contact with Mal Wood and said I want a complete kit. So he supplied the pedal and everything for this. Later on we went for the centrifugal throw-out bearing clutch, which is excellent. It's a nice clutch. So it's got its master cylinder up under the dash. The diff was in before it had its rebuild, and I didn't want a 9-inch, but I wanted something stronger than a Banjo. So it's got a Borg Warner, 4-pinion centre, 3.5 ratio, limited slip.
Let's close the bonnet and let's go to the interior.
Yep.
Okay, wow, this is very nice.
Well, I took it to a lady up in Kelmscott to match this, and that was later.
Yep.
And she had a lot of problems with the glove box lid because when she put the paint on it, wouldn't bond. And I think it was because it has so much armour all on it.
Yep.
So she'd paint it and then the paint would react. But I wanted the silver interior because it's an SS interior. So the radio's got Bluetooth and all the features in it.
And when you said when you actually rebuilt the car, you had pretty much all the brand new door cards, everything ready to go. So when you had to do the interior, did you have someone fit all the interior for you?
Yep.
Or
Yep. It went to Southeastern Motor Trimmers, so he organised all the door cards and did the seats prior to its rebuild, and then when it was ready, it went back there, and he put it all together. I wanted the herringbone seats and the golf ball door trims.
the steering wheel, original SS steering wheel?
In the steering wheels, there's two steering wheels. One's a 5mm and one's a 3mm. And this is actually a 3mm, but I looked at the old steering wheel and I thought, well, for the price of a new steering wheel, that's what it's going to cost me to recondition the old one.
Okay.
So I kept this one, and I wanted an SS badge on it because that's what I wanted.
Perfect.
But even the gauges, I wanted the silver bezel around the gauge so it matches the dash.
Okay, mate. Well, let's go have a look at the back end of the car.
All right. So what I wanted to do is normally they only have one light, so I put two lights to balance it up. It's made up a new floor panel.
Okay.
So it's just
nice.
MDF because the other one was chipboard and it all just chips away.
Yep, so you've got all your spare tyre,
Yeah.
everything under here.
Under there.
No, perfect. When you restored this, how bad was the rust spot at the back here? Because I know some of the hatches had problems with water damage around the back ends.
Before it went to resto, it had rust on the hinge on the right hand side. It came back from sand or bead blasting and this pillar was pitted.
Okay.
And I could never work out why. And I went to Waroona one day with a mate to get some speedway parts and a bloke down there told me why.
Okay.
And so when these were built, they were built in Melbourne and then the bodies were wheeled out and they sat on their left hand side in storage out in the weather.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is the water would come in through that hinge on the top, run along the top of the roof and down the C-pillar and must the C-pillar out. But the advantage is with rare spares and rare parts. There's so many parts that you can buy now.
Yeah,
for
perfect.
restoring them. Makes it so much easier restoration now with parts that you can get from these companies that are making them.
Now, you also, when we were talking before, you've customised the back end to suit you as well. So tell me a bit how you designed the back end of this car when you sprayed it and everything else.
When I look at a car without the black, to me it looks plain. So what I wanted to do was to have white, black, chrome, black, and then it's drop tank.
Okay.
So that's what, and again, it's gloss black,
Nice.
and it just takes away from the white and takes the tones of the white down.
Obviously, you've got the old fuel tank in the back here.
There was a bit of drum to get the fuel tank in, but it was just a case of cutting the spout to get it so it would sit. And I didn't want the big drop tank because of weight and cost.
Yes.
So this is a 90 litre fuel tank.
Now, the back visor, where did you get that one from?
That came from rare parts. So I chased around and I didn't want to have an outside louver because it's easy to get them knocked off, and I just wanted something to cover the back area. So that's a metal Venetian.
And no, perfect. It suits it down to a T.
Yeah. So just things that you do to make it your car.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, it's a pleasure running through this car with you, looking at everything that you've got, everything you've done to this car. You've owned it for a very long time. You've customised it how you wanted to do it, and it's your reflection of how you wanted the car. I think you've done a perfect job to it. But we really appreciate you having us out as far as Aussie Garage, interview you, and allowing us to check out your ride. So we'll definitely catch you around the traps, mate.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, mate.
All right. My pleasure.